Right, good morning, everyone. It is really delightful to have all of you who are here in person, as well as everyone who's online. It's been too long since we've had a community meeting, and I'm really looking forward over the rest of this day to figuring out with all of you how we can most productively work together. So I'm Salil Vadhan. I run OpenDP together with Gary and the rest of our wonderful team. I'm going to do a little bit more of a recap and of the OpenDP mission, elaborating a bit and giving a little bit highlighting different aspects of our mission beyond what Gary talked about. Talk a little bit about what our team is and how we do our work, and where we're getting our support, and from a very high level, give a bird's eye view of where we are in terms of our software to kind of set the context, and there'll be more technical deep dives later in the morning. Then our program director, Annie Wu, will talk a little bit about some of the roadmap, both for the coming year, as well as the agenda for the rest of this community meeting. And then Sharon Anole, our director of community engagement, will be talking about community strategy, because that's what we're all here for. And hopefully there'll be some time for questions and discussion, since we're a little bit ahead of schedule. Okay, so the OpenDP mission, which I'm sure all of you have seen, is to have a community effort to build a trustworthy and open source suite of differential privacy tools that can be easily adopted by custodians of sensitive data, to make it available for research and exploration in the public interest. And that's the short version of our mission. And there's a lot of good reasons for doing this that we've talked about in the past, but what I want to really focus on is the community aspect, because that's what we're here for. And I think what really distinguishes OpenDP, makes it unique compared to all the other great work that's happening on bringing differential privacy to practice these days. So why do we need a community effort in differential privacy? Gary spoke about a number of the reasons and how we have to all be kind of aware of that full sort of pipeline from theory and research to practice. Let me highlight a few additional aspects. One that Gary did mention is trustworthiness. As many of you know, implementing differential privacy correctly, so that it actually provides its promised privacy guarantees, is actually quite challenging and much more subtle than you might think. So organizations shouldn't just be going off and trying to roll their own. Chances are they won't get it right. So to have trustworthy software, privacy security, open source is great. Open source opens the possibility that organizations can be held accountable for the software, that there can be community eyes on it. But there also needs actually people to be investing the effort to vet the software and verify that it has the desired properties. And so OpenDP, one major part of our mission is to get a community of experts, many of you and many others in the research community, actively engaged in that process of vetting our collective collection of software. Second is flexibility. So every new application of differential privacy raises new technical challenges. We often realize that there isn't an off-the-shelf solution in the research literature to solve the problem that's needed. And the OpenDP library, we've designed it in a way that it has the flexibility to grow with the science and practice of differential privacy through community contribution. So we really set it up with the intent that we're not just going to build software and make it available, but that you all will, and all of you who are engaged in advancing differential privacy and bringing differential privacy applications, will participate in growing this common suite of software. A second goal along these lines that Sharon will elaborate on is to build what we call the OpenDP connector, where we can connect differential privacy experts with end users or organizations that want to make use of differential privacy, so that together they can work on finding solutions for their problems, and then contribute the new ideas that come out of that back to the OpenDP suite that can be made available for the rest of the community. And then finally, we think it's really important that we have a community governance differential privacy software, where we as a community of differential privacy experts and contributors, users of differential privacy software, data custodians, as well as representatives of data subjects can come together from industry, academia, and government to have a voice in the direction of the project, the kinds of applications that we're bringing differential privacy to, and to make sure that we're really achieving we're working toward achieving the promise of differential privacy and using it for societally positive things. All right, so these are all quite, these are all aspirational, they're big goals. But we believe that we are now at a stage at the time of this community meeting to really be pushing on trying to achieve these goals together as a community, and that's what we would like to see come out of this community meeting. Okay, so just as a recollection and kind of come out, Gary mentioned this a bit, where we started from in terms of target use cases for OpenDP was to bring otherwise sequestered and siloed data, to open it up for scientifically oriented research and exploration in the public interest, basically to advance research in social science and public health and medicine by making, in a safe way, data available that otherwise wouldn't be safe to make available for research. And that could be data coming from researchers, coming from government agencies, coming from companies. But we also believe there's a lot of valuable applications, and as you all know, of differential privacy opportunities in industry for companies to perform analytics on customer data in a privacy protective way, and of course, as well in the vast array of machine learning applications. And so we are keen to work with partners on bringing OpenDP to those kinds of applications as well, and figuring out how the software can be extended to meet the needs of those applications. Our support, as Gary mentioned, we're very grateful to the Sloan Foundation that seeded our efforts and continues to support us substantially. We have recently received 2 large awards from NSF that we're quite excited about what they're going to enable in terms of our work. The first is bringing differential privacy to social science data repositories, which was, really part of the key kind of starting point for us in launching OpenDP. And in particular, one example is the Dataverse project, which produces data repository software. It's led by Gary, that's used to host a repository of dozens of social science and other research data repositories around the world, as well as other research data repositories in social science and genomics and health and so on. The second large grant we have from NSF is building the differential privacy ecosystem through OpenDP, and that's really about the community building effort, like we have at this community meeting and the other kinds of efforts that Sharon will be talking about. And the other new grant that we have is from data.org. You'll hear Pitch Anything about it, working with them on running a contest to develop differentially private methods for making credit card transaction data available for epidemiological research. From the beginning of OpenDP, we've collaborated closely with Microsoft on developing the smart noise system for differential privacy, which I'll give a brief update on later. We continue to collaborate with them on that, and we're very grateful to all the companies that have supported our work, as well as provided gifts to support this community meeting. This is our core leadership team in OpenDP, and won't go through everyone, but just highlight some of the new people on the team since the last community meeting. We're delighted Stefano Akis, who isn't able to be here at the community meeting, who joined us both as Director of Data Science here at the Institute for Quantitative Social Science, which is based right across the street in the mirror image building, who brings many years of experience on the core team for the R project that Barry mentioned. Sharon recently joined us as our Director of Community Engagement, and the time was was really overdue for that, and part of the reason why we waited 2 years to have a community meeting was to have someone like Sharon on board that can really help push forward the community efforts that come out of the meeting. Wanrong Zhang joined us as a postdoc and recently became a research associate. Next week, Vikram Singhal will be joining us as a research associate as well to advance to provide additional leadership on the scientific side of OpenDP. They both bring lots of research expertise on the theory of differential privacy. And this looks like a largish team, but the first 4 of us here have other full-time roles, and we just are devoting part of our time to OpenDP. A number of the others are, several of the others are half-time. So we're quite proud of what we've accomplished with a relatively small FTE count on the core team in OpenDP. And part of the way we do that is great contributions from other developers on other projects who are devoting some of their time, graduate students whose research is related to what we're doing in OpenDP, who help us with our efforts, and a number of wonderful interns that we've brought in over the years. Sharon will talk a little bit more about the internship program, but they worked on projects like extending OpenDP to support data frames, timing attacks on differential privacy, implementing optimal compositors in OpenDP, doing user studies of the software in OpenDP, and working on that contest that I talked about with data.org, and developing some of the theory enabling the support of the kind of interactive tools that we want in OpenDP. We're grateful to our wonderful advisory board as well, many thought leaders in this space who have provided us great guidance over the years and will continue to do so. And then we also have the Fellows Program that Sharon will talk about, which, to distinguish it from the intern program, these are people coming from organizations bringing their own project related to the interests of their organization to work on in collaboration with OpenDP. Raphael and Pauline will give a talk later about the project that they're working on. And we've also had graduate students come in to work on projects related to confidence intervals and visualization of differential privacy, as well as user studies, all kind of at the intersection of their own work and the mission of OpenDP. All right, so let me give a little bit of an overview of the OpenDP software. So the way the software is set up and our vision is kind of in 2 parts. There is so this whole thing is the OpenDP, well, not the OpenDP software ecosystem, which you say. So the ecosystem is, of course, broader than that, and not just software tools. And within the ecosystem, there is a portion of it that we refer to as the OpenDP Commons, which is the software that's produced by, we say by OpenDP. What we mean is both the core team and the OpenDP community. Produced by and governed by the community is the vision for the OpenDP Commons. And at the core of that is the OpenDP library, which you'll hear much more about later, but that has within it the framework for modeling privacy relevant properties in code, and a collection of algorithms and functions that allow you to do things within that privacy framework, basically the realization of differentially private methods. But in addition, the Commons has other kinds of tools that are useful. One is the DP Creator tool, which is an end-to-end system that we've been working on that I'll talk about a little bit later. And one can imagine other kinds of tools fitting in there as well, such as tools for privacy auditing that there'll be a breakout session on to discuss that possibility later today. And then there's also what we think of as sort of the product solutions and built with OpenDP that are not governed by the community, but are developed by in partnership or by another organization that still open sources their software and makes it available with together with OpenDP, but they maintain primary responsibility for that system. And one example is the smart noise system that we worked on with Microsoft, and we hope to see more of those. So this is all reflected in the OpenDP GitHub repo if you haven't been there. And so there is the portion that's the has the OpenDP library. There is the DP creator tool and the smart noise as well. To say a little bit more about the library, again, much more detail will come later. The library is implemented in Rust, but there are bindings for Python. So if you're familiar with Python, you can have access to essentially the full functionality of the library. And something that is at a prototype stage, we're really excited about, is now also having bindings allowing you to use the OpenDP library from R. And so for statisticians in the statistical community, that's going to be a very valuable feature. Okay, and so we talked about trustworthiness being important. And so how do we build, what's our vision for building a trustworthy library in OpenDP? We want that the OpenDP community, as well as members of our core team, are able to add new differentially private methods to the library. And how can we be sure that that the library is still trustworthy when we're taking in external contributions? And the idea is to have a formalized vetting process where mathematical proofs of the privacy relevant properties are attached to the code, and you will show later how we really have an integration even at the level of the repository of proofs and code, and a vetting process that these contributions need to go through to be accepted into the core part of the OpenDP library. Okay. So the way it works is that the code can be there that hasn't yet gone through the vetting process, but to enable use of those unvetted pieces of software, you turn on a special flag and say, I know I'm using some things that are experimental and not vetted yet. Okay, and later at one of the Pitch Anythings, Marco Gabawardi has graciously agreed to lead the board of this vetting process, where is going to be putting out a call for nominations for people to serve on this review board for proofs of the privacy properties of contributions to the library. So we're really excited to be ready to launch that process. From Mike and Andy a little bit later this morning, you can hear about a lot of the exciting developments in the library. We kind of had our heads down over the last couple of years trying to put enough infrastructure in place so that the library is really ready both for more interesting applications, as well as for people to write interesting differentially private methods on top of the library and be able to contribute them. And so we mentioned a couple of these, our bindings, integrations, proofs, and code, support for interactivity, there's a lot more documentation, data frame support, some new higher level APIs to make the library easier to use, and also the ability to interoperate with functions from other libraries. So keen for you all to start playing with it, both as potential users and think about making contributions, and you can contribute code, bugs, identify bugs, help us add to the documentation, and write more proofs for things that haven't yet don't yet have proofs and haven't gone through the vetting process. Okay, so let's see, smart noise systems. So this is a cloud-based system that we started developing with Microsoft from the beginning of OpenDP for doing differentially private releases in a cloud environment. There continues to be development on smart noise. We won't be talking a whole lot of detail about it, but there's been a number of community contributions to it. In addition, of a bunch of methods for differentially private synthetic data, as well as a number of new ways of doing SQL queries with differential privacy in smart noise. So encourage you to check it out if you're interested. And the idea of these systems is the core library is something that's kind of mainly designed to use for someone with a fair amount of both differential privacy and programming expertise. And so the idea is that on top of that, I mean, we have different levels of interfaces to the library to make that functionality available to users with different levels of expertise. So the higher level APIs is kind of one step up. Smarter Voice is another step up from that in terms of accessibility. And yet another step up from that is the DP Creator tool that you may have heard us talk about in the past, which is really kind of walking through in a graphical interface with a user who has a very limited background in differential privacy, the process of making a differentially private release and the various choices that need to be made along the way. And so sort of selecting what kinds of statistics and help with partitioning the privacy loss budget and so on. Again, we won't be talking in a whole lot of detail, but development on DP Creator continues. Our original motivation for DP Creator was integration with research data repositories. And so that is now done. There is integration with the Dataverse repository software, as well as an implementation, or is the prototype of that, as well as a prototype of what we call analyst mode, which is one which it's not just the data owner making a release, but an external analyst being able to kind of issue queries on the data using the same kind of interface. And one of the things that's kind of on the roadmap, currently in process for DP Creator. Currently, it's a web-based system that requires running on a server, and we're excited about the plan to have a client-based version where you don't need to have a server running to make use of DP Creator. And once that's done, we have some additional ideas for what will come next with DP Creator. So I encourage you to play with that and give us feedback. And then finally, we've been excited, even though the software has been in development this whole time, to have had a number of organizations and companies either making use of OpenDP software in a few cases for production applications, in other cases doing pilots and prototypes using the OpenDP software. In other cases, we're in an earlier stage of exploring possible applications. So Microsoft has used it in production for a number of internal use cases, as well as the public release about broadband data. The Massachusetts Executive Office of Education is using it for internal analysis of the effectiveness of early childhood programs. Oblivious and UN Pet Lab have done prototypes of doing different private analysis of international trade data using OpenDP. And so we're again excited to see these kinds of applications advancing. And one of our top priorities over the coming year is to really scale up in terms of use cases. And so what we want to know is whether you are potentially interested in using OpenDP or have started using OpenDP and really have a dialogue. We want our software development now to really be driven by the needs of use cases. So we want to know what pain points are people running into, what additional functionality is needed. We want to collaborate with use case partners and really kind of try to achieve this vision of software that can be used for a wide variety of applications and be able to match the needs of these applications with, again, contributions that come from the community. So scaling up use cases with our small team is also going to require scaling up contributions and community engagement to make those happen. And so again, look forward to working with you all on making that happen. So let me now turn it over to Annie, who will talk a little bit about roadmap and the agenda for the meetings.
So, welcome everyone. So good to see everybody that I've been in contact with many of you, like electronically, and you turn out to be all real people. It's okay. How do I advance this? Great. So focuses for the next 12 months, I wanna, before I go into the details, I'm gonna share my thinking about OpenDP, my thought, history. So when we started the project, when I joined, we were trying to build a library, right? We know there's the need for differential privacy. And then based on the library, we developed some applications to help people use the library. And then, the important thing for us, we understood from the beginning is to build our community to develop into all different areas and applications. And then 3 years into this, so my understanding, my viewpoint has completely changed. So community comes first, because over the course of 3 years, look at how big we've grown, right? And then community actually brought us a lot of applications. So we're getting a lot of inquiries about how to use OpenDP. And then when our team go to conferences, they're like, oh, OpenDP, I know, we all know about it. But, the applications are out there, we just don't hear all of them. And then based on the application requests from the community, we further improve our library. Our library, under the lead of Salil and Andy, and our wonderful Mike, who cannot be present today, has incorporated tons of requests from the community over the years, and I worked with many of you to fine tune, the algorithms. We have a long pipeline of what's upcoming. So out of these 3 fronts, I just want to quickly go through on the community front. Sharon will further talk about it, so I'm not going to go over in too much detail. So we want to make sure we pay very close attention to diversity and inclusion, because this group is already very diverse. I'm very happy to see it, but traditionally, like a high tech, IT, anything like that, it's diversity is a challenge. So that's why, one of Sharon's main focuses, as you guys will see, is to bring to OpenDP measurable diversity and inclusion metrics. And then we will have workshops in the next community meeting, and then we will pay a lot of attention to contributor user needs, engage contributor users, and of course community working groups. I'm not gonna spend much time on this right now. And then for applications, because we get so many requests right now, we're sort of seeing a lot of requests, and then we need to systematically do our use case research, and then understood as sort of teasing out the most compelling needs that we have to address them in that process. We also need a lot of input from all of you guys. And then in some use cases that directly approach us, we actually engage deeper with the actual different roles of the users, as one of our fellows, where's Lucas? Is probably here somewhere. I saw him yesterday. We did a nice user study that actually defines, try to categorize and define different roles in a use case. It's way more complicated than what I first thought about it. And then, through our research and our practice assisting users, we hopefully can develop a use case playbook that can, help all of the organizations apply DP. Still will help, but you still need a lot of expertise in differential privacy and in computer engineering, and also in statistics, data science. But hopefully we can develop a playbook for us to approach different use cases. And then for the library, Andy will talk, in detail about this. So at a very high level, we will focus on new algorithms. We have already released some high-level APIs, and then we will be releasing our findings because a lot of our users actually still use a lot of R along with Python. And then also explore integration with large scale data repositories and distributed computing platforms. In terms of governance and organization, we're very clearly growing. So we are constantly, thinking about how we can develop a long-term governance model and sustainable at the same time. Questions? No? Too serious? Okay, so our roadmap management, as listed on the slide, we actually review it every 3 months. And then we're actually trying to, under Andy's leadership, we're trying to get to a quarterly release schedule. So if you want to see more details on our roadmap, you can go to that link. It's very secure URL. It's easy to remember, just our domain name /roadmap. Okay, so I'm gonna quickly go over the day ahead. So if you already have registered before the meeting, and then the back of your badge has a printed list of the agenda, so you can refer to it anytime. And I just want to quickly show you who the speakers are, so you can you don't have to go online and get on my slide later. For right after I finish, our Sharon will present the community strategy section. So, and then after that, we will have the technical updates from Andy and is Mike joining you or is it?
He's gonna join remotely.
Mike will join remotely. And then in the morning, we also have our fellow Pauline and fellows Pauline and Raphael present their work on the DP within the Swiss Federal Administration. And after that, we will have very exciting 5 pitches from our community. And I'll just flash a quick sneak preview. I don't want to spoil it. Okay. 3 seconds? Okay. So in terms of timing wise, so after the community strategy, we will have a break and our refreshments will be served outside. And after the community pitch anything, we will have a lunch. I think my phone says it's raining outside, so it's good we have lunch over here. You don't have to walk outside. We're not taking a swipe at TPDP at all. And yeah. We have 1:30 p.m. You're gonna come back here. We have a very experienced and heavy industry panel to talk about DP and motion. You'll be very interested. And then we followed by 5 more pitches from the community. 3 more seconds. 1, 2, 3. And then we will have a break until 3:15, and then we will have 2 parallel breakouts. One breakout will be in this room, and then one breakout will be in the S050, which is, if you go out, it will be go out that way to turn right. And then 4:35 p.m. We will have the closing remarks. And tomorrow we will not be here. We'll be back in the SEC in Austin, where the reception was held last night. We will have our first in-person OpenDP tutorial and hackathon. So this is the all-day schedule, and then as usual, lunch and snacks will be served. And then this is all thanks to our supporters and generous sponsors. You know who you are in this audience. Thank you very much.